Stop. Everything you know about ancient history is wrong. Vikings never wore horned helmets. Gladiators rarely met fatal ends. Columbus did not discover anything. And those Egyptian pyramids? Not built by forced laborers. Hollywood, textbooks, even your teachers, they all got it incorrect. Today, I am exposing 40 myths that scientists have completely destroyed. These are not tiny corrections. These are jaw-dropping revelations that flip thousands of years of history upside down. By the end of this video, you will question everything. Ready? Let us shatter some myths. 1. Ancient Egyptians used forced labor to build pyramids. Hollywood lied to your face. Those dramatic scenes showing forced laborers under harsh conditions while building pyramids, pure fiction. Archaeological evidence from worker villages near Giza proves the workforce consisted of skilled, paid laborers who received beer rations, medical care, and proper housing. Teams even left graffiti showing pride in their work, calling themselves Friends of Khufu. The forced labor myth came from Greek historians writing centuries later without first-hand knowledge. The reality? Pyramid builders were respected craftsmen performing national service similar to paying taxes. They were not mistreated masses, but valued workers building monuments that would define human achievement for millennia. 2. Vikings wore horned helmets into battle. Close your eyes and picture a Viking warrior. You are seeing horns on that helmet, right? That image is completely fake. Not a single horned helmet from the Viking Age has ever been discovered. Archaeologists have examined every Viking helmet found across Scandinavia and beyond. All were simple, rounded, and combat practical. Real Vikings were brilliant warriors who would never wear something enemies could easily grab during battle. So where did horns come from? 1800s opera costumes. When composer Richard Wagner staged Viking characters, he added theatrical horns for dramatic effect. That theatrical invention became pop culture fact, creating an icon that never existed in history. 3. Columbus proved Earth was round. Your teachers told you Columbus proved Earth was not flat and rescued humanity from ignorance. That is complete historical fiction designed to make him look heroic. Medieval Europeans already knew Earth was spherical. Universities had been teaching spherical geography for centuries before Columbus sailed. Ancient Greek calculations about Earth's shape never disappeared from European knowledge. The real debate was not Earth's shape, but its size. Columbus actually calculated wrong, thinking Earth was much smaller than it is. European scholars had the correct measurements. The flat Earth myth was invented in the 1800s to make medieval people look stupid. Columbus did not prove anything about Earth's shape. 4. Roman concrete was lost super technology. Romans invented incredible concrete with secrets mysteriously lost for centuries, right? That is romantic fiction. Roman concrete has impressive durability for specific applications, particularly underwater structures, but is not universally superior to modern concrete. Here is the kicker. Their recipes were never lost. They are documented in ancient texts like Vitruvius's architectural writings from the 1st century BCE. Modern engineers simply choose different concrete formulas for different purposes. Roman concrete works wonderfully for certain applications, but could not support modern skyscrapers or highways. Romans were absolutely brilliant builders, but they did not possess some magical disappeared technology. Their achievements were remarkable without needing exaggeration or mystery. 5. Gladiators always fought to the end. Hollywood shows gladiator matches as intense battles where only one warrior survives. That is dramatic exaggeration. Roman records, graffiti, and financial ledgers from Pompeii reveal gladiator matches rarely ended with a loss of life. Why? Gladiators were extremely expensive investments, requiring years of training, specialized diets, and medical care. Most bouts were refereed competitions with scoring systems, similar to modern combat sports. Intentionally harming a gladiator permanently required special permission and was genuinely uncommon. Gladiators were professional athletes and celebrities. Owners wanted them alive for future profitable matches. Some matches ended with serious outcomes, but Hollywood dramatically inflates the severity for entertainment value. 6. Library of Alexandria burned in one fire. History books present the Library of Alexandria's destruction as one apocalyptic fire destroying all ancient knowledge instantly. That dramatic story never happened. Research examining ancient sources reveals the library declined gradually over several centuries through multiple incidents, budget cuts, and political instability. No single catastrophic fire destroyed everything. The collection dispersed between roughly 48 BCE and 270 CE through various fires, riots, and institutional decay. Many materials were saved, copied, and moved to other Mediterranean libraries. Significant knowledge survived elsewhere. The one fire myth simplifies centuries of complicated decline into one tragic cinematic moment that makes better storytelling but worse history. 7. Druids built Stonehenge. Modern Druids hold ceremonies at Stonehenge, so they must have built it, right? Completely wrong. Radiocarbon analysis proves Stonehenge was constructed around 3000 to 2000 BCE, while Druids emerged around 500 BCE. That is 1,500 years separating builders from Druids, longer than the gap between us and the fall of Rome. Ancient Britons who built Stonehenge practiced completely different religions than later Celtic Druids. This false connection was invented in the 1600s by Romantic writers making assumptions without evidence. The timeline is crystal clear. Stonehenge and Druids never overlapped historically, not even close. 8. Medieval people believed Earth was flat. One of history's most persistent incorrect claims says medieval Europeans believed Earth was flat. That is completely false. Research reviewing thousands of medieval manuscripts reveals intellectuals overwhelmingly accepted Earth's spherical shape. Ancient Greek knowledge remained embedded in European education throughout the medieval period. Universities taught spherical geography, scholars calculated Earth's circumference, and navigators understood curved horizons. The flat Earth myth was created in the 1800s by writers portraying medieval people as ignorant for dramatic contrast with modern enlightenment. Medieval Europeans knew Earth was round. The flat Earth story is itself a modern myth about the past, ironically proving how easily false narratives become accepted fact. 9. Cleopatra was Egyptian. Egypt's most famous queen must be Egyptian, right? Surprise, Cleopatra was ethnically Greek. She descended from Ptolemy, Alexander the Great's general who seized Egypt after Alexander passed away. The Ptolemaic dynasty ruled Egypt 300 years, but remained culturally Greek, speaking Greek and following Greek customs. Cleopatra was remarkably the first Ptolemaic ruler bothering to learn Egyptian language. She politically embraced Egyptian culture because it was smart politics. This does not diminish her importance. She genuinely defended Egypt's interests. But ethnically, she represented Greek heritage ruling Egyptian territory. Her legacy is complex, crossing cultural boundaries while maintaining distinct identity. 10. Heinrich Schliemann discovered Troy alone. The famous story presents Schliemann as a lone genius, discovering Troy by believing Homer when academics dismissed it as fiction. Historical research reveals this badly distorts reality. Schliemann followed decades of scholarly work by others who had already identified Troy's probable location. He constantly misidentified findings, wrongly labeling treasures predating Homeric Troy by over a millennium. His excavation methods were destructive and amateur, damaging irreplaceable archaeological layers. Troy's discovery involved collaborative work by multiple scholars over years. Schliemann got famous and took credit, but did not accomplish this through Homer faith alone. The lone genius narrative oversimplifies decades of complex archaeological effort. 11. Easter Island collapsed. From environmental destruction, Easter Island gets presented as the ultimate environmental disaster warning. Inhabitants destroyed their ecosystem, causing collapse before Europeans arrived. Modern research completely overturned this narrative. Studies show Rapa Nui people actually adapted sustainably to their challenging environment with innovative farming techniques. Real collapse came from European contact, bringing devastating diseases, raids, and conflict decimating populations. Pollen analysis confirms that while deforestation occurred, populations remained stable with sophisticated agricultural systems. The environmental collapse story involved Western projection based on limited evidence. Modern research vindicated Rapa Nui environmental management as far more sophisticated than previously portrayed. Europeans caused the collapse, not environmental mismanagement. 12. Neanderthals were unintelligent primitives. For over a century, Neanderthals appeared as unintelligent primitives barely more advanced than animals. Modern research completely revolutionized this view. Studies reveal Neanderthals created sophisticated art, used complex tools, cared for injured members, and demonstrated advanced symbolic thinking. Brain analysis confirms intelligence matching modern humans. They expertly controlled fire, created multi-step adhesives requiring sophisticated knowledge, and practiced medical care. Genetic research shows we inherited beneficial Neanderthal genes, helping our immune systems. They successfully adapted to Ice Age Europe for hundreds of thousands of years. The primitive myth reflected Victorian prejudice, not evidence. Neanderthals were sophisticated humans, contributing to our evolutionary success. 13. Great Wall of China, visible from space. The most repeated amazing fact claims the Great Wall is visible from space with the unaided eye. International space agencies definitively debunked this. The wall is not visible from orbit without optical aid. NASA astronauts repeatedly confirmed you cannot see it unaided from space. It is too narrow and blends into landscape. Cities, airports, and reservoirs are far more visible. This myth originated before space travel as speculation, then persisted despite astronaut testimony. Modern highways and dams show up better than the wall. Satellite imagery proves this wrong. The Great Wall is incredible, but claiming space visibility adds unnecessary incorrect information to genuine achievement. 14. Vikings discovered America by accident. Popular narratives portray Vikings stumbling onto North America accidentally while lost at sea. Research reveals their Atlantic crossings were carefully planned expeditions using sophisticated navigation. Norse sailors used sun compasses, latitude sailing methods, and detailed oral navigation traditions passed down generations. Voyages to Vinland were not accidents, but deliberate explorations following sighting reports. Archaeological evidence from Lanzo Meadows shows organized settlements with permanent structures, not accident survivors establishing emergency camps. Vikings were expert navigators with clear goals and proven methods. The accidental discovery myth unfairly diminishes their remarkable maritime achievements. Their transatlantic voyages were deliberate, skillful accomplishments demonstrating advanced seamanship. 15. Hanging Gardens of Babylon existed. The Hanging Gardens appear on every Seven Wonders list. Archaeological research questions whether they existed in Babylon at all. Some researchers suggest if gardens existed, they were actually in Nineveh, not Babylon. Here is the problem. No Babylonian texts mention them anywhere. All descriptions come from Greek writers who never visited Babylon. Extensive excavations found no evidence of massive water systems required. Ancient Babylonian achievement lists never mention gardens. Evidence suggests possible confusion with Assyrian palace gardens in Nineveh. The Hanging Gardens might be history's most famous monument that never existed where we think, or possibly never existed at all. 16. Ninjas wore black and fought samurai. Popular culture presents ninjas in black outfits performing acrobatic combat against samurai. Historical research reveals real ninjas operated completely differently. Historical ninjas typically disguise themselves as ordinary people, farmers, merchants, monks, travelers, wearing normal period clothing. The iconic black outfit came from Japanese theater conventions, where stagehands wore black to remain invisible to audiences. Real ninja work involved espionage, intelligence gathering, sabotage, and reconnaissance, not theatrical martial combat. Many ninjas were actually samurai performing covert operations when needed. The ninja versus samurai conflict is largely fictional entertainment. Historical records describe practical intelligence, work, and subterfuge, not the Hollywood-style combat burned into popular imagination. 17. Ancient Athens was perfect democracy. Ancient Athens gets celebrated as democracy's birthplace and ideal model. Historical research reminds us how limited Athenian democracy actually was. Only adult male citizens born to citizen parents participated politically, excluding women, individuals in servitude, and foreign residents, groups comprising Athens's vast majority. Democratic participation required direct involvement needing substantial free time, only wealthy possessed. Important decisions came from small elite groups despite democratic structures. Modern democracies are dramatically more inclusive. We appreciate Athens's groundbreaking innovations in democratic governance, while acknowledging their system fell far short of modern standards. Athens planted democratic seeds, but calling their system perfect ignores glaring exclusions. 18. Romans had vomitoriums for purging. Perhaps the most disgusting Roman myth claims special rooms called vomitoriums, where diners deliberately purged food during feasts to continue eating more. Classical archaeology completely debunked this gross misconception. Vomitorium is real Latin, but referred to stadium passageways where crowds spewed forth after events, like modern stadium exits, nothing to do with purging food. Excavations found zero evidence for deliberate vomiting rooms. Roman medical texts never describe systematic purging as common dining practice. While occasional overindulgence happened, the purge and continue eating ritual never existed. The myth started from misunderstanding what the architectural term actually meant. Romans were sophisticated diners, not gross gluttons. 19. Medieval people, rarely bathed. One of history's most persistent myths portrays medieval Europeans rarely bathing and living in unsanitary conditions. Research compiled overwhelming evidence of regular bathing throughout the period. Archaeological excavations revealed public bathhouses in most medieval towns. Medical texts recommended bathing for health, account books record regular soap purchases, religious rules required cleanliness before services. Medieval artwork depicts bathing scenes regularly. Standards varied by class and region, but hygiene mattered significantly. The unsanitary Middle Ages myth emerged in the 1800s and does not match actual practices. They bathed regularly and valued cleanliness. Medieval hygiene was surprisingly sophisticated, defying modern stereotypes about backward Dark Ages. 20. Mammoths extinct before pyramids built. Most assume woolly mammoths disappeared thousands of years before civilization developed. Research highlights a mind-blowing chronological overlap. Woolly mammoths survived on isolated Wrangel Island until approximately 2000 BCE. Meanwhile, Egyptians built the Great Pyramid around 2560 BCE. For nearly 500 years, mammoths and pyramids coexisted simultaneously on Earth. Radiocarbon dating confirms this remarkable overlap. Last mammoths lived in Arctic isolation, while Egyptian civilization flourished thousands of miles away with monumental architecture. This temporal overlap reminds us prehistory and history are not as separated as imagined. Ancient and modern overlapped in ways that surprise us constantly. 21. Greek statues were white marble. Visit any museum and Greek statues gleam white. Modern research using advanced imaging completely overturned this iconic image. Ancient Greek statues were originally painted in vivid, bright colors. Scientific analysis revealed microscopic traces of blue, red, yellow, green, and gold pigments covering sculptures. Ancient Greeks loved colorful, vibrant art, not stark white. Pure white appearance emerged only after centuries of weathering strip paint. Renaissance artists saw weathered remnants and mistakenly assumed whiteness was intentional aesthetic. Modern technology reveals original colors through microscopic paint residue. The authentic Greek aesthetic was brilliantly colorful, not the austere white marble defining classical art in museums today. 22. Medieval castles had sewage moats. Disgusting myth claims medieval castles deliberately dumped waste into protective moats as defensive strategy. Archaeological research examining sediment from dozens of European castle moats found zero supporting evidence. Medieval moats were essential water sources for drinking, cooking, livestock, and cleaning within castles. Deliberately contaminating your water supply would harm inhabitants? Medieval people understood basic sanitation. While accidents occurred, moats were not designed as open sewers. Archaeological evidence reveals medieval castles maintained separate waste management systems. The sewage moat myth reflects modern misunderstandings about medieval hygiene rather than reality. Medieval sanitation was imperfect but far more sophisticated than stereotypes suggest. 23. Ancient Chinese invented everything first. One extreme myth claims ancient China invented virtually every major technology centuries before other civilizations. Research examining invention timelines critically shows this is significant exaggeration. Many supposed Chinese firsts either happened simultaneously across cultures or were invented elsewhere first. The stirrup appeared independently in several regions. Paper-like materials existed in Egypt before Chinese paper. Gunpowder weapons developed across Eurasia with multi-directional technological exchange. Printing emerged independently in different civilizations. China's legitimate achievements were genuinely impressive without exaggeration. The invented everything first myth actually undermines real Chinese innovations by bundling them with inaccurate claims. Truth is impressive enough without embellishment. 24. Samurai always followed Bushido honor code. Popular culture portrays samurai rigidly following Bushido, never compromising principles. Research reveals this romanticized image badly misrepresents reality. Bushido as formalized concept emerged primarily in the late 1800s and early 1900s, not ancient Japan. Historical samurai frequently changed allegiances when advantageous, broke promises for practical reasons, and behaved pragmatically rather than following strict honor rules. Records document betrayals, opportunistic behavior, and flexible ethics throughout history. Individual samurai varied dramatically in behavior. The unified Bushido myth was constructed by later nationalist movements, romanticizing warrior history for political purposes. Real samurai were complex people navigating complicated politics, not honor-obsessed idealists. 25. Da Vinci invented helicopters and tanks. Leonardo da Vinci's sketches supposedly show he invented helicopters, tanks, submarines, and modern machines centuries early. Research in Renaissance engineering examined designs with modern technical analysis. Most designs would not actually function with available period materials, or at all. Da Vinci was brilliant at conceptual visualization, but inventions remained impractical drawings, not functional designs. Many concepts came from earlier engineers, not original inventions. His aerial screw could not generate necessary lift. Tank designs had mechanical problems preventing movement. Engineering analysis confirms designs stayed theoretical sketches. Da Vinci's genius lay in artistic vision and imagination, not functional invention. His drawings inspired future inventors without being practical themselves. 26. Native Americans had no writing systems. Persistent Eurocentric myth claims indigenous Americans, before European contact, possessed no true writing systems. Research in linguistic anthropology documented numerous sophisticated writing systems throughout the Americas. Maya had fully developed hieroglyphic writing comparable to Egyptian hieroglyphs. Aztecs used complex pictographic systems, encoding detailed information. Andean cultures used quipu, elaborate knotted string systems, recording narratives and histories. Recent analysis continues decoding previously misunderstood indigenous scripts. The idea that writing only counts if resembling European alphabets reflects colonial bias. Archaeological discoveries continue revealing sophisticated information recording throughout ancient Americas. Indigenous peoples possessed complex literacy systems European colonizers deliberately ignored or destroyed. 27. Aztecs thought Cortés was a deity. Standard narratives claim Aztecs believed Spanish conquistador Cortés was a deity returning, enabling conquest. Research exposed this as Spanish propaganda with no indigenous support. Analysis of native Mexican sources reveals Aztecs never confused Cortés with any deity. The deity narrative appears only in Spanish accounts written to justify conquest morally and legally. Aztec Emperor Moctezuma's actual statements show he clearly understood Spaniards were dangerous foreigners with advanced military technology. Indigenous sources describe careful diplomatic maneuvering, not religious confusion. The deity myth made conquest seem inevitable and divinely ordained rather than what it was, a military campaign requiring propaganda justification afterward. 28. Pyramids aligned perfectly with Orion's belt. Popular alternative history claims Giza's 3 pyramids align perfectly with Orion's belt constellation, proving advanced astronomical knowledge or alien influence. Astronomical analysis thoroughly debunked this alignment claim. Researchers using precise measurements showed pyramids' layout does not actually match Orion's belt star configuration accurately. The proposed correlation requires ignoring scale differences and using selective cherry-picked measurements while dismissing contradictory data. Real astronomical alignments exist in Egyptian architecture, but differ completely from Orion theory. Egyptians possess genuine astronomical knowledge without needing false pattern matching. The Orion correlation creates misleading patterns where careful analysis shows none exist. Precise measurements definitively disproved alignment claims, promoting pseudoscience. 29. Medieval practices were extremely harsh. Medieval museums display iron maidens, racks, and intense devices supposedly used throughout the Middle Ages. Research exposed most famous devices as complete modern fabrications. The iconic Iron Maiden was invented in the 1800s for sensational exhibitions designed to attract paying tourists. Many medieval instruments were created for 19th century shows, selling tickets through shock value. Research examining actual court records shows judicial practices were heavily regulated, relatively rare, and nothing like creative methods portrayed. Medieval justice was harsh, but not obsessed with elaborate devices. Most dramatic museum pieces have zero medieval provenance and were constructed recently for entertainment. 30. Romans saluted like modern military. Films show Romans giving straight-arm raised salutes looking like modern military or fascist salutes. Historical research found absolutely zero evidence Romans ever used this specific gesture. No ancient Roman artwork, sculpture, relief carving, or written text describes this salute anywhere. The straight-arm salute was invented for 19th century neoclassical paintings by artists imagining Roman customs, then adopted by fascist political movements in the 20th century. Romans had various gestures for greetings and respect, but nothing matching the modern Roman salute. Archaeological evidence from thousands of Roman visual sources shows no consistent raised arm greeting. This gesture is entirely modern invention incorrectly attributed. 31. Alchemy was useless pseudoscience. Modern presentations dismiss alchemy as foolish attempts to turn lead into gold. Research revealed alchemy's genuine contributions to scientific development. Alchemists developed laboratory techniques still used today, including distillation, crystallization, sublimation, and precise temperature control. They identified chemical elements, created acids, documented reactions, and cataloged substances systematically. Alchemical symbolism protected intellectual property in eras without patent systems. Many founding chemists, including Robert Boyle and Isaac Newton, trained as alchemists initially. While transmutation failed, alchemical experimentation established experimental method and laboratory practice. Alchemy was chemistry's legitimate ancestor, not just superstition. Modern chemistry evolved directly from alchemical traditions and techniques. 32. Easter Island heads are just heads. Everyone recognizes Easter Island's famous giant stone heads, the Moai. Excavations revealed something surprising millions worldwide. The Moai heads actually have complete bodies buried underground beneath centuries of accumulated soil. Archaeological reports showed statues extend deep into earth with fully carved torsos, arms positioned at sides, and hands carved in intricate detail. The Moai heads are just the visible top of massive, complete statues extending deep into the ground. Excavation photographs showing full statues went viral across social media. Bodies feature elaborate back carvings, invisible from surface. Some statues stand over 30 feet tall when exposed. What seemed like heads were always full sculptures. 33. Ancient Egyptians had supernatural powers over explorers. The mysterious legend exploded after King Tutankhamun's tomb discovery, with newspapers claiming ancient supernatural forces systematically affected archaeologists. Statistical research analyzed mortality rates of everyone involved in Egyptian tomb excavations. Archaeological studies found absolutely no unusual patterns among excavators compared to general population life expectancy. Most excavators lived long, healthy lives. Events attributed to supernatural forces had mundane medical explanations. Lord Carnarvon passed away from infected mosquito bite complications, not supernatural forces. The legend was journalism, sensationalism, and superstition. Modern statistical analysis of hundreds of excavators proved normal lifespans. The supernatural narrative sold newspapers but had zero basis in reality. 34. Sparta had the best ancient army. Sparta's reputation as ultimate ancient military superpower dominates popular culture. Military history research analyzing actual battlefield records tells different story. Studies show Sparta's actual win-loss record was surprisingly average compared to other Greek city-states. They lost major battles frequently, including catastrophic defeat at Lyctra, which permanently ended Spartan power. Athens, Thebes, and Macedonia all defeated Spartan forces multiple times. Sparta's fearsome reputation came primarily from propaganda and unusual rigid social system, not consistent battlefield dominance. Their inflexible culture made them unable to adapt to evolving tactics. Sparta was formidable but far from invincible, losing as often as winning. 35. Medieval Europeans did not use forks. Another medieval backwardness stereotype claims Europeans did not use forks, eating everything with hands alone. Archaeological research compiled extensive fork evidence throughout medieval Europe. Findings documented forks appearing in medieval household inventories, artwork, and excavation sites across Western Europe. Byzantine forks were imported and locally copied. Italian nobility used forks regularly by the 1100s. Forks gradually spread through European courts during the entire medieval period. Not everyone owned forks since wealth determined access, but they definitely were not unknown or unused. Medieval Europeans employed various utensils appropriately. Fork usage was sophisticated among wealthy classes, spreading gradually through society over centuries. 36. Ancient humans had very short lifespans. Widespread belief states ancient humans rarely survived past 30 or 40 years maximum. Bioarchaeological research clarified this persistent misunderstanding. Studies explained average lifespan statistics are mathematically skewed by statistical averages from early life survival rates. If someone survived childhood diseases successfully, they could easily reach 60 or 70 years. Skeletal evidence shows many ancient individuals lived into 60s and beyond regularly. Ancient literature references elderly grandparents constantly throughout history. The short lifespan myth confuses statistical average with individual life expectancy, skewed by statistical averages from early life survival rates. Adults surviving childhood often live to ages we would consider elderly today. 37. Vikings were primarily raiders. Popular stereotypes present Vikings exclusively as aggressive raiders, obsessed with conflict and plunder. Archaeological research painted far more complete picture. Most Vikings were farmers, traders, skilled craftspeople, and peaceful settlers, not warriors primarily. Analysis of settlement patterns across Scandinavia revealed agricultural communities focused on farming and animal husbandry as primary occupations. Trade goods found at Viking sites demonstrate extensive peaceful commercial networks spanning continents. Artistic achievements, sophisticated poetry, and complex legal systems demonstrate advanced culture beyond conflict. Raiding occurred but represented small seasonal activity involving young men temporarily. Viking society was fundamentally agricultural and commercial, not primarily militaristic. 38. Medieval communities frequently persecuted, accused individuals. Popular culture shows medieval persecution as common frequent events throughout the Middle Ages. Historical research revealed most trials happened much later, primarily during 1500s through 1600s, well after medieval period ended. Early modern studies showed medieval attitudes toward accusations were actually quite skeptical. Church officials frequently dismissed accusations as superstitious nonsense, unworthy of consideration. Famous intensive hunts happened during Renaissance and early modern periods, not medieval times. The medieval persecution myth conflates different historical periods inaccurately. Actual medieval period was relatively skeptical compared to later centuries when trials intensified dramatically. 39. Pharaohs built pyramids as vanity projects. Traditional explanations present pyramids as massive ego monuments, by power-hungry pharaohs demanding labor for personal glorification. Research revealed pyramids served far more complex religious, economic, and social functions beyond simple vanity. Studies showed pyramids were national unification projects, bringing entire kingdom together through shared purpose. They demonstrated organizational capacity and state power to enemies and trading partners. Construction provided essential employment during annual Nile flood seasons when agricultural work was impossible. Pyramids represented cosmic religious order, connecting earthly realm to divine powers. The vanity myth oversimplifies sophisticated monuments serving multiple purposes: religious, political, economic, and social simultaneously. 40. Columbus discovered America. Perhaps history's most challenged myth claims Christopher Columbus discovered America in 1492. Research comprehensively documented numerous peoples reached Americas long before Columbus. Indigenous peoples obviously arrived first, living there over 15,000 years before Europeans. Vikings established settlements around 1000 CE, 500 years before Columbus. Polynesian contact evidence continues emerging from South American archaeology. Columbus never reached North American mainland, landing only in Caribbean islands. He believed he had reached Asia, not discovering new continent. Indigenous civilizations with millions already thrived. Columbus initiated European colonization, but discovery erases indigenous presence and achievements spanning millennia. There you have it, 40 ancient history myths completely destroyed by modern science and research. From pyramids to Vikings, gladiators to samurai, everything you learn might be incorrect. History is not static facts. It is constantly evolving as evidence emerges and methods improve. Which myth shocked you most? Drop your thoughts in comments below. If you enjoyed this myth-busting deep dive, smash that subscribe button for more evidence-based history content. Question everything you learned in school. Stay curious, and I will see you next time.